It is only the start of the year. You do not want to be making these mistakes if you want an academic comeback this year. I have had multiple academic comebacks, going from an E to an A star just to go back down to an E and then all the way back up to an A. It takes a lot of crying, a lot of hard work, but it is not impossible. So these are the things that I did that you should not be following, and I know a lot of people do this as well. So make sure if you have these habits, get rid of it now so that you can have an academic comeback this year and onto the next years that follow. I used to be the type of student that would study for 12 hours, or at least I think I'm studying for 12 hours, but have nothing go into my mind. Like, I literally studied so much. I told myself that I was so hardworking, nobody studies more than me, and yet I was getting grades worse than everybody else. I was literally at the bottom of my class getting E's. I was almost kicked out of my school because I couldn't do it anymore. And yeah, I picked it up from there. And the only reason why I did that was because when I was studying for 12 hours, I was copying my notes. I literally had my textbook, copied whatever it is in my textbook, and wrote it into my notebook. I was making a whole new textbook. And all of this was because I convinced myself that every time I write on my notebook, I am solidifying it in my head. But that's not true at all. We all know that's a lie. Keep telling yourself that. If this is you, keep telling yourself that. We all know that you can't actually get it into your head. Now, this study habit, I know all of us are guilty of. Have you ever done Pomodoro technique or whatever it is, and you're like, oh, it's time for me to take a break? And then you go on a break, you go on your phone, and then you forget that you're actually studying, and you just continue to be on your phone for hours and hours and hours. And then suddenly the day is done, and you're like, you know what, I'm just going to study tomorrow. And then the whole thing repeats again, and you don't actually end up studying. Underestimating your studies is probably the worst thing you can do for yourself. I underestimated how long it took to study a chapter in chemistry or a chapter in biology. So I was like, oh, my exam is still 6 months away. I'll just study in March. When March came, I forgot that I was meant to study. I was like, it's okay. I can do it all in a day. If I just sit down there and focus, I can do it all in a day. That was not true. I did not do it in a day. It took me longer because I was sat there doing my notes. And then I was sat there for so long because I couldn't understand action potential. I couldn't understand organic chemistry. And then it made me stuck for 2 weeks. And then time is running out. I have my exams coming up. What am I going to do? So all of these, please do not underestimate how long it takes to study a topic. You can say to yourself, oh, I'm smart. I can do this all in 2 weeks. Give yourself some contingency. Do not stress yourself out, I'm telling you. Like, it's better that you work hard now and play later rather than play now and work hard later. Because the day before my chemistry A-level exam, I was playing my Wii. I did not do a single revision and I still got my A. Now I'm a chemical engineering master's student and I'm almost done with uni. I've been at this academic high for the past 4 years. Every single one of my exam has been above 80%, with a number of it being above 95%. The highest grade I got in chemical engineering was 98% in transport processes. And I'm not worried about failing anymore because I figured out what works for me. So I'm going to tell you guys all the ways that I figured this out for myself so that you can try it too. Number 1, spend a whole month figuring out your revision technique. Obviously, it's kind of difficult or scary to do that right now because you don't have a lot of time left. You only have like 5 months left. And while yes, that seems like a lot of time, think about how quickly the past 5 months went. So if that went quickly, how quickly will the next 5 months go? Because even I'm scared. Like 5 months is not a lot of time. So I understand that taking out a month out of that to figure out your revision technique is scary, but it is worth it. So I would say start as soon as possible. So the first thing that I did was I searched up different revision techniques. One of the main revision techniques that came out a lot of the times was Pomodoro study with me's. So I really like, or one of the things that really work for me is being out in public and studying in public. Me and my family used to go to cafes every single week because my parents would hang out with their friends and I would just study in these cafes. I used to sit there for hours and hours and hours poring over my chemistry textbook. And my chemistry textbook, so let's say this is Iron Flame. This is the book that I'm reading right now. My chemistry textbook was this thick. So let's take a look at how many pages this is. This is Um, 623 pages. My chemistry textbook was about 1200 pages. And it was giant, and I brought it everywhere with me. Do you know why? Because it made me feel like a genius. It made me feel like when people look at me, they think I'm so smart. I used to do it, I still do this to this day actually. Whenever I get a textbook out of the library in uni, I put the title in front because I want people to see and read that I'm a chemical engineer. I will find the most difficult sounding textbook and then hold it in front of me, hold it like this. I will not put it in my bag, I will hold it like this with the title right there. I will come to class bringing textbooks, bringing the printouts, and I know this sounds so egotistical, so narcissistic. I don't care because that is what works for me. It works for me because when I think that other people are watching me, when other people are looking at me, when other people think I'm studying, when other people think I'm smart, it motivates me so much. It's so crazy. Like, it motivates me so much. Like, it just makes me go 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 go, and I get my work done like this. Like, it's actually so insane how it works for me. And I don't care if people think I'm crazy for that because it works. If it works, it's not stupid, right? So when I'm at home alone and I can't do this, I use Study With Me Pomodoro. Now you can find this anywhere. You can find this on YouTube. You can find this on TikTok. You can find this everywhere. I think there's probably like chat rooms where you can do this. Do it with your friends on Discord. It doesn't matter. There isn't a particular YouTube channel that I watch for this. I watch just any of the ones that I vibed with that day. And then usually most of them don't have music, and I like that when they don't have music, so I can play my own music alongside this. So I usually have 2 tabs open for YouTube, one for the Pomodoro, one for the music. And for the music, I usually listen to classical music because it gets my brain thinking. Now let's talk about how I changed up my note-taking strategy like about 1,000,000 times in the span of a month. Firstly, as I said before, I used the textbook method where I just literally wrote down everything in the textbook and then put it into a notebook. Secondly, I started highlighting things. So I started highlighting the notebook, and I did that all the time in the car, in the cafes, in the plane. I used to highlight it with my little cute little highlighter with my gigantic textbook, and then copy what I highlighted there into my notebook, and then highlighted my notebook. I think I was just obsessed with highlighting, I'm not gonna lie. I don't know what it is, but I probably just really like highlighting. That's why I highlighted everything. And then thirdly, after I did this, I started to color code everything. So I would rewrite my notes all over again because I got obsessed with writing everything in different colored pens. Now, while that is a start, because I'm going to talk about this in a second, I did end up doing color coding, but while this is a start, all I did was try to make my notes look pretty. And that will be your downfall if all you want to do is make your notes look pretty. Now, I don't care if you say, oh, but if my notes don't look nice, then I don't want to study. Like, it just doesn't motivate me. I think you just don't have motivation to study. I'm not going to lie to you. I think it's genuinely just because you didn't want to study. Yes, your notes will look nice. Yes, if your notes look nice, it does feel nicer to actually look at it time and time again. But that is not the point of this because we are not going to be looking at our notes over and over again. And that's going to be the new strategy that you're going to instill in yourself. Stop making notes for you to look back on over and over again. What you want to do with these notes is to rewrite it with things that you keep forgetting over and over and over again. So for example, let's talk about organic synthesis in chemistry. I kept forgetting all of the things that I need to remember in terms of how to go from an alkene to a haloalkane. Super simple thing. You just add HBr, for example, and then put it at room temperature or add reflux or things like that. But I kept getting it mixed up over and over again. And I'm pretty sure a lot of people struggle with that too, because it is easy to forget, basically. So this is what I did. I turned them into a giant flowchart. This flowchart I memorized by rewriting over and over again. And by what I mean by over and over again, I literally mean rewriting it 100 times. And it's not by my own choice. I didn't do this because I wanted to rewrite it over and over again. I did this because my teacher told me to. It was my homework because I failed the quiz. So he said, okay, go home, rewrite it 100 times, bring it back to school. And I did. I rewrote it 100 times while I was watching TV, while I was eating dinner, while I was playing with my phone. I rewrote that flowchart 100 times and I did it. And to this day, I remember it with my eyes closed. I do not need to look at my notes anymore because I've memorized it using muscle memory. And that is what you need, because you do not want to be looking at your notes over and over again. Do not look at the same thing over and over again. Instead, figure out a way to turn that into a chart and then memorize the chart. Use mind maps, use flow charts. These two are going to be your best friends. Now, this is where I started to color code everything in the proper way. Once I figured out that if I broke down a large concept into mind maps or flowcharts, I can remember it better and understand it better, then I could start color coding it. So this is where I have my different colored pens. The main pen that I really like to use is Muji pens. These particular pens are so good. I use particularly 0.38. 0.5 is too thick. 0.38 is the best thickness for writing. It makes your writing very neat without being intentional about it. But the main colors that I use is orange, green, and blue black. This one's blue black. And this is so good. Like, let me show you guys. If I write on this, look at how unintentionally neat this writing is. I can even write on my left hand and it would still be what's the word for it? Like where you can actually read it. Illegible? Legible? Legible. Look, that's from my left hand. I can still read that. That says hello. The color scheme that you want, you can do it in any way that you want. Red is for things that I know I'm going to forget, things that I couldn't understand from the get-go. Orange is for definitions and green are for examples. Let's say, for example, we're looking at equilibria and we're trying to understand how equilibria can change when you change the pressure, for example. If this is something that constantly you get mixed up all the time, then you can write it in red. Write the definition in red. Write that when the pressure increases, the moles will change. The equilibrium will change to the side with less moles. And then if the pressure decreases, then it goes to the side with more moles. Write that down in red. Then use orange to put a definition of equilibria. What is equilibria? Equilibria is where forward reaction is equal to the backward reaction. In a standard state, when it's in a closed system, blah, 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 whatever it is. For the color green, go to a past paper and then copy the question that comes up a lot of times in that topic itself. Copy that down and then write the mark scheme answer for it. This is something that you can do in order to tackle both understanding how to answer questions and also how to memorize the topic itself. If you are doing A-level biology, by the way, don't use the textbooks. The textbooks are so terrible. The best way to study for A-level biology is to go to the topic questions and do them blindly. Copy every question that you see in the topic questions itself, in the past papers, copy the mark schemes, make that as your notes. Because I've not seen a single resource. The closest I've seen is Save My Exams, but there's not been a single resource that has everything. It's always like bits and bobs here and there. Some things are missing. Like, for example, in the syllabus, you may learn about dialysis, but you don't learn about hemodialysis or peritoneal dialysis. Like, you don't learn about that in detail, but then in the question, they will ask you about that. So then you have to know about it. And you'll only figure that out if you do the questions. So just start with doing the questions itself. Now that you know how to take your notes properly, let's go on to make a study schedule. So when it comes to study schedules, do it whatever way you want. But the best way that when it comes to making study schedules, you can use templates out there. I have a template that I've already made for you guys. It's in the Discord server. I know a bunch of people who have used it already. Just adjust it accordingly. So go to your syllabus, print it out, or have it on your iPad, whatever it is. Highlight the topics that you do not understand at all in red. Topics that you kind of understand but need a bit of recap on in orange. And then the topics that you fully understand and could grasp like this, put it in green. This is the red, amber, green method. And then this will help you to break down what you need to go over again and what you can just wait for now and then go over again later on. So the red is your priority. You need to tackle that as quickly as possible. The orange is going to be something not the orange, sorry, the amber is going to be the questions or the topics that you can go over once every week. And the green, you need to go over once every 2 weeks or once every month. It's up to you. It depends on how easily you forget the topic, basically. Topics that you forget really easily, go over every 2 weeks. Topics you don't forget easily, go over every month. When I was doing my first year in uni in chemical engineering, there was this module called design, build, and test, and it had calculations that I couldn't understand at all. So what I did was every single week I would go over the same questions over and over and over again. Yes, I would get bored of the questions. Do I care? No, because at the end of it, I understood everything. And if I didn't understand it then I wouldn't be able to do what I do now. Then after you have your study schedule, you also need to know how to prepare for mocks or exam preparations. The best way to do this is to give yourself a month to study. If you can give yourself 3 months, that's even better, but a month is minimum for you to study. 2 weeks is not enough, unless you only have like 2 chapters that you need to study. But if you're trying to study for a full-on test, I would say a month is the best time for you. So you need what is called as the 2-3-5-7 calendar method. So how it works is that you have your calendar. Let's say this is your calendar and it has the dates. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, blah, 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 until 30 or 31, whatever the month is, or maybe February it's 28. It's up to you what month you're on. Look at your dates. Let's say your exam is over here. Let's say your exam is on the 19th of January. If your exam is on the 19th of January, then you need to count 2 days before this date. So go back to it and you get the 17th of January. This will be the last day that you will prepare for this exam. Before this, you have to count 3 days before the 17th. So 1, 2, 3, you have the 14th. On the 14th, you will also be studying for this exam. Then you count 5 days before the 14th, and that will be the 9th. And then you count 7 days before the 9th, and you get the 2nd. So the 2nd of January, the 9th of January, the 14th of January, and the 17th of January will be the days where you focus on this particular exam that you will have on the 19th. This is the best way for you to manage your time when you have a lot of exams going on at the same time. Now, it doesn't mean that you only study these at these days, especially if it's subjects that you really struggle with a lot. The best way to tackle subjects that you struggle with the most is to double it up. So instead of doing 2, 3, 5, 7, go even further. Repeat that again. From the 7th, do 2, 3, 5, 7 for the month before that. And if it's an even bigger topic, go even further. That's why I say the minimum is a month, and a good amount of time for you to study a topic is 3 months. Now, there's one strategy that you can use if you do not care about the subject and you only want to get a good grade or a pass, but you're not going to be furthering this degree or subject or whatever it is further in the future. Let's say you're doing science right now and you don't care about science A-levels because you're not going to do it. You're going to do every other subject other than science. What you're going to do is wait until the last month and then do topic questions every single day. Grind it, do past papers, you will be guaranteed a pass. You will not understand a single thing, but you will be guaranteed a pass. If you want to do this, get very good grades and be able to understand everything because you're going to use it later on in the future, or you just want to know it because you're very interested in it, then pair it with these note-taking methods that I've said before. Take your notes by breaking it down into flowcharts, and then use topic questions to solidify your understanding, and then do past papers. For past papers, you should be starting it ideally 3 months before the exam in order to get an A star. There are cases where students do it 2 weeks before and they get an A star because my student has done it before. There are cases where there's always anomalies in everything, basically. But the best way to do it is 3 months before the exam. And it's a minimum of 52 past papers in order to get an A in your exam. Now, the final strategy that I figured out what worked for me, this is like the best one that worked for me, was to use summarized notes that somebody else had made. Now, you can get this from anywhere. You can get this from Z Notes. You can get this from Physics and Maths Tutor, Save My Exams. First Class Maths. You can use this from any website that you want, MME, literally any website that you want, but get summarized notes from someone else. Don't waste your time making your own notes. We've established this already. Don't make your own notes, use summarized notes, and then use those summarized notes to answer topic questions. This will help you to do two things. It helps you to understand what's in your notes, understand how to apply it into the questions itself, and then also how to understand what clues are in the question. I'll make a different video about that because that's a long one. So you need to know how to find the clues in the question itself. Once you can figure that out, and once you know how to use summarized notes properly, this is going to be when you have the most efficient study sessions ever. I went from studying 12 hours a day down to just 2 hours a day, and I was hitting A stars with every past paper that I did. This was the best strategy that I used. Use summarized notes from someone else, use those notes to make or answer the topic questions, and then if there are discrepancies or if there's something missing from the summarized note itself that you got asked in the topic question, write down the model answer from that question itself and turn that into a note to put into the summarized note. So add it onto the borders, add it on as an extra chart, whatever it is you want to do, just add it onto the summarized notes. Do not remake the notes that they already gave you, but add onto it. But yeah, with these strategies, you will be guaranteed to pass, maybe even get a B, but these are the strategies that I did to get an A and an A star. And now I'm predicted a first class in chemical engineering, and I never would have guessed that a long time ago. So if I can do it, anyone can do it. But yeah, good luck guys. Enjoy your academic comeback this year. Bye!